All right, well, here we are at another episode of At Our Table. Today, Lindsay and I are going to be interviewing my mom and my dad later today. We're starting out with my mom, Marge Sawtelle, and Dad will be joining us later, doing a solo interview, and then we are going to have a conversation with the both of them. So, Mom, welcome to At Our Table.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Coming back from Florida and headed back to Maine, right?
Right.
Your summer home in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of Maine, let's talk about your childhood and where did you grow up and what was family life like for you growing up in Rumford, Maine?
Yeah. So in Rumford, we lived on Waldo Street, and there were 5 children, and I look at pictures of us back then, and they're sweet. But I was the youngest of 5 children, and when I was 8, we moved to Fry, Maine.
Okay.
And it was like night and day. It was, and as much as I enjoyed, I think the time in Rumford, the time in Fry was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Why were they so different?
It was in town, in city, and out in farm land.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We did not, well, we did have, we had 2 cows, and then we got a goat, and we got ducks and chickens, so we did farm, and my mother had a garden.
Mm-hmm.
So we did
You went
farm.
from the city to the farm, or the farm to the city?
The city to the farm.
Okay. And you like the farm better?
Well, yeah. I mean, yes, I would say so. Yeah.
And Rumford was a mill town, right?
Yes, and we were right close to the mill. We used to walk to the bridge that crossed the river, the walking bridge.
Mm-hmm.
We never were allowed to go across it, but we'd wait there and wait for my dad to get out when he was working like a 7 to 3 shift.
So it was a lumber mill, right?
Paper
mill. And so it had that, I don't know, Lindsay, if you've ever driven through a paper mill town, but it has this strong sulfur smell.
Yes.
That you can smell from miles away.
Yes, yeah.
Isn't Rumford a very immigrant-rich community?
Very.
It's like, talk about how many different ethnicities?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know. You know, there were many Italian. Well, let's just do my family.
Do your family.
They were French and Irish.
Okay.
Primarily, but then there were Italians, there were Polish, Scottish. You know, that's just, I can't think of anything more, but there were many more.
Yeah.
Where is Rumford?
It's in western Maine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Up near like Bethel, or for people who are listening, where Sunday River is. It's in that part of western.
Yep. I think they're in the same county also.
Yeah.
Rumford and Bethel.
Yeah.
And they're about 35 miles apart. So my life there in Fry was just fun. It was fun. We did fun things. We climbed mountains in the summer, and we climbed them again in the winter with our skis, and we skied down the mountain, and we were on a brook. My father's land was on 2 brooks, one that went north and south, and one that went east and west, and those brooks converged and went into the Swift River. And in the summers, we'd walk up a logging road and go swimming up to 3 pools, probably 4 days out of 7 on average in the summer. And that was from the time I was 9 years old. I mean, 8 it was in August, so we didn't do that when I was 8, but 9 until probably 17.
Yeah. Take us into a day. What would a day in your home look like with your mom and your dad and your siblings?
Well, my mother worked. She was a nurse's aide, and my father worked. And so My oldest sister Pat, let's see, so 9, 7, she was 16. She was home for one summer, let's just say, I'm supposing, and then the next summer she was working.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I don't know. I was pretty much able to do what I wanted to do, which was, there were very few friends out in the country. So in the summertime,
Yeah.
we would play, the two families primarily. And
Yours and who was the other family?
well, the Moores and the Bulgers,
Oh, okay.
my family.
Yeah.
Those were the two. And we would have, just great times. We'd go in the woods, up the mountain, I'm thinking in the summer primarily. And I remember one time, someone said, one of the kids, I don't remember who it was, one of the Moore girls, there were 4 girls, and there were probably 3 of us Bulger kids, the younger 3. And someone said they saw a bear. And so we all scurried back to Kathy Moore's house, and oh my God, we got adult parents, like clusters of adult
Like
parents.
all riled up?
All
Oh
riled
my
up.
God.
And
there was no bear.
I don't know that there was a bear. I really don't know that there was a bear. And I remember that specifically. And I don't remember the outcome or anything. But anyway, so there was that. But that was the kind of, fun thing we would do.
And how many siblings did you have?
I had 4 or 5, including me.
Okay.
Of siblings, 4. Mm-hmm.
So how many were you in the middle?
I was the youngest.
The baby.
The baby.
Yeah.
Oh.
Margie. They called her Margie.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I was named after one of my father's sisters, my aunt, Margie.
Okay.
But now tell us about you had half siblings.
Yes.
And when did you
Yes.
learn that?
Yeah.
On your mom's side or your dad's side?
On my mother's side.
Okay.
Yeah. She was married twice to my dad and to this other person. So my sister Pat, my brother Ernie, my sister Jackie were all half siblings, and I didn't know that till I was 11 years old.
Wow.
I mean, you've got to figure that was in the 50s and 60s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They didn't talk about those things.
Right.
But we were Catholic, and there were hints, but I didn't connect the dots, They knew, the 3 oldest knew. I don't know that.
Oh, pause.
Amazing.
Oh, wow.
Hello, baby
Okay.
girl.
Oh my goodness.
Hello, baby girl. Come on.
Come on.
Hello. It's a
Okay.
Oh, that was so cute. Look at the camera.
Easy.
Oh,
Hi. Hello.
All right, so you were talking about, Mom, your siblings and when you learned that they were your half siblings.
I was 11, and we used to go through. My mother kept all of our photos, our family photos, it was in a box.
Like a bread box, wasn't it?
In a bread, we called it the bread. It was
yeah.
a bread box, and she kept them all. So, as I was aging and so forth, I'd go through them in show of interest. But I was 11, and I was reading the newspaper article of my mother's and my father's wedding. And this article said Irene M. Doobie married Raymond J. Bulger. And I said, that's not Mom's last name. And so, that was the moment. My sister Patsy was out there with me, and maybe there were other siblings out there, but it was Patsy, the oldest, who said and told, the part that I didn't know.
So she knew.
She knew. Her father.
She was
the oldest, and then.
And she's your half sister.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And so she made the connection, and then it made sense to me. We were Catholic.
Yeah.
We'd go to Catholic church, And my mother would always sit up back. She'd never, oh yeah,
Really?
and she never went to communion. She never,
Because
she was excommunicated.
Because she got divorced.
Yes. But I will jump way ahead.
That's okay. Go for
Way
it.
ahead. In 1978, my mother was, and she did this on her own. I mean, she and my dad decided that she was going to get her first marriage annulled. And I remember I walked in with the two children. She had the paperwork on the hutch that we now own. And I happened to walk by. I was with the children, and it was something. I mean, my mother had it, and she must have had it there for a reason for me to see it, I guess. And so we were there to visit, and I said, Mom, what's this? And so she explained it to me, what she was doing. I remembered thinking a lot of things, but I remembered thinking, it isn't necessary, and, but I kept that to myself.
Meaning, like, why is she putting herself through this?
Right,
that kind
right,
of thought? Okay.
right. And I thought, this just isn't necessary, but she did it. And in 1978, my mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and she died in 1979. And in that year, so generally takes a couple of years for these annulments to happen. And the nuns, so this was late in 77, maybe early 78.
How old was she?
She was 57.
Wow, so young.
Wow.
She was so young. Colon cancer.
Oh.
And but the nuns, they bumped this ahead, and they moved it, and they made it work. And
Did they know she was sick?
Yes. In 1978, when she was diagnosed, so that was in June, perhaps, and she was not supposed to even come home from the hospital. And anyway, so they bumped this ahead.
So they were like, we'll pull some strings.
They did, and so.
Do you think that allowed her to pass with more peace and being reconnected with her
For sure.
religion?
I thought to myself, what do I know? What do I know? And the priest came up to the house and redid my mother's and father's marriage vows.
Really?
And my mother was still in her bathrobe and was still recovering and so forth. None of us went. We didn't.
It was a private
It was
ceremony.
private. It was very private. And anyway, so that was really quite amazing.
Yeah.
Was she very Catholic? It meant a lot to her?
It meant a lot. I don't know that she was very religious necessarily, but I think there was something that had developed in her as she was passing, perhaps. Or even before.
Yeah.
I mean, this was something she established let's say 6 months before
she even knew.
Right,
that she was
before
sick.
she even knew.
Did you go to Catholic school?
Uh-huh.
You did.
I
Your
did.
whole.
Till my third grade, when we moved from Rumford to Fry.
And
then I went to the small little village school up there. Yes, it was really different. And then we'd go to catechism to make sure you stay connected and so forth.
To the Catholic church.
On the weekends and so forth.
That too.
So
You did.
and right.
Yeah.
My whole life, I was like, oh,
Yeah, really. I mean,
get me out of here.
you're right, exactly. You do it, and then you're in high school. You're like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And, it was seriously. But yeah, we did it.
What did you think you wanted to be when you were growing up and going to school?
A veterinarian.
Really?
Yeah, I did. I really did. But then when I was a senior in high school, I decided to go. I was taking from freshman, my sophomore year on through the 12th grade. I was taking commercial courses because the guidance counselors didn't see, college me going to college.
Had anybody in your family gone to college before you?
Patsy did,
Okay.
and Jackie,
Okay.
and then so Danny did not and Ernie did not,
Okay.
the two boys, and then I did. But yeah.
Did you have jobs when you were growing up with animals?
I loved animals.
Okay.
I mean, I had pet geese. I had.
Like geese.
I did.
Oh.
They were wonderful, and horses. I didn't own horses, but I would go to where there were horses, and when I was growing up, and so I loved animals, and I knew that. I knew
Always.
it was just there innately. So that was just something that was part of me. So
Did you and your family ever do vacations or travel when you were growing up?
no.
So when did you, can you remember the first time you, let's just say, left the state of Maine?
Oh, yeah, I can. I went to my Aunt Cecile's when we were still in Rumford, I think. And I went to Cecile's for a couple of weeks, my mother's sister, and I mean, she was just it was just a visit, and that was in Massachusetts, in Haverhill, Massachusetts. But otherwise, I don't think we didn't vacation.
Yeah.
We didn't, but we didn't. I didn't feel like we were missing anything.
Right.
Right.
Because we were on vacation.
Yeah.
Every day you felt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And what was your school like? The village school that you said?
We had 1, 2, 3 classrooms for 7 grades.
And how many people in each grade?
There were probably 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 8
People.
Yeah,
in
people
each grade.
in each grade. Yeah, maybe more than that. But one teacher for 3 grades.
So it would be 3 grades in one classroom.
Yep, and one teacher. And I'd had Mrs. Soroy, and then I had Mr. Soroy.
Husband, wife?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. They were nice people, good people. So I had them 4th, 5th, and 6th, 7th, 8th. Yeah, 4th and 5th Mrs. Soroy, and then 6th, 7th, and 8th was Mr. Soroy.
Did you like going to school?
Yeah, I did.
You liked learning?
I did.
Mm-hmm.
I did. I enjoyed school. Yeah. But I watched the oldest sister, Pat, and I didn't watch Jackie so much at first, but Pat, I watched her.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, you observe.
Mm-hmm.
I was the observant child, I think. I don't think anybody else really watched like I did.
Yeah.
And I was the youngest, she was the oldest, and I watched her, and I aspired to do what she was doing, although she went into nursing school. I didn't, that wasn't
Something you were interested in.
no. But how she approached school and teachers, a connection and so forth with teachers.
What about sports? Did you do?
Yeah, I played softball. I was on the ski team.
You were? I don't think I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
You raced?
I didn't so much. I did because Kathy Moore
Your best friend.
and I were, and
you didn't really compete.
didn't race.
not
Yeah.
really,
Okay,
not
first
really,
time. Yeah.
not really. And but softball we played avidly, basketball, gymnastics.
You liked softball. I remember you talking a lot. And,
Yep.
and you would play softball as an adult too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were there teams or like clubs when you were growing up, or you would just do it with your friends?
We were just our friends. Just
Just like in
Right.
the yard.
And I remember specifically, we'd play with a small baseball, and I remembered playing with a softball when we were on the softball team, and I remember thinking, oh God, how do we get on, so that we get this small ball? Anyway, I remember thinking that, and
Do you remember your first job?
Probably in high school at a shoe store.
At a shoe store.
Yep. And I don't remember the name of it, but I remember it specifically. And
You were like a sales associate?
sales,
Or, okay.
sales,
Yeah.
yeah. And yeah. that was my first paying job. Yeah.
So you graduated from
Stevens High School.
Stevens High School. Okay. And that was in Rumford.
Class of 1969.
Okay.
We were the last graduating class
Okay.
that year and they'd built a large
high
school, that up to that point, the school was so contained that we'd have two sessions we had session for the freshmen, and we'd have a session for the juniors and seniors in the afternoons. So
when did you start picking up music in your life?
Early.
Okay.
Kathy and I'm thinking the Beatles were our connection. But, she got a Beatles album.
Okay.
She's your best friend?
She was my best friend. She died of breast cancer in 1980.
She was young.
She was young. Oh. Yeah. But I remember her getting a Beatles album. And she came to the house. We went upstairs. We played it we had a table, unit, and we played that album. It's a wonder we didn't wear it out, because we played it over and over and over again.
It's been a hard day.
Yep.
That's that kind of
yeah.
Beatles
It was.
album? Yeah.
It was that one. I think it was their first album.
Wow.
And so then, by then though, and I'm the youngest, then my older brothers and sisters were getting albums. My father was interested in Johnny Cash.
Oh, yes.
And I can't think of who else. But anyway, so we'd listen to his music. But then the older siblings were into Roy Orbison and
Sure.
Yeah. And I was listening intently. My dad bought me a guitar when I was like 12.
Okay. So it was an acoustic guitar.
It was an F-hole archtop guitar.
And so you've been playing since you were 12 years old.
Yep.
Guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And I haven't played for 2 years, 3 years. Yeah.
But you play guitar, and you've taught yourself a little piano over the years.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Because music was definitely part of what, who I was. Yeah. Definitely. We'd go down to my Aunt Mary and Uncle Bob's, and we would sit around and as younger children listen to the older generation sing, and then the younger generation came along and sang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was folk music like a big thing for you guys?
It was.
Bob Dylan,
Yes.
Joan Baez.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
We were in that group.
Yeah.
That was your favorite genre?
It was, but then when we became juniors and seniors, I think
Elvis?
rock.
No, where was Elvis?
Elvis was always there. He was always there as an undercurrent, and then the Beatles were definitely, there was a conglomeration of music that we really listened to, and
was Led Zeppelin? What years did they kind of hit the scene?
I don't know, but I never got into Led Zeppelin.
Not that kind of rock.
Yeah, hard rock was just not my thing. I'd listen to it, but it was like, no, it's not my jam.
When did you decide, Mom, what you were going to do after high school, and what did that look like for you? In that?
At first, I signed up to go to Washington, D.C. and work for the FBI.
Get out of town!
Yeah. And then...
What happened there?
Well, as seniors in high school, this agent came in and spoke with students that were interested, and I signed up. And I was going to do that. And then I was trying to think, that just didn't happen. But it was like in the last couple of weeks that of my high school career that I decided, no, I don't want to do that. And I went to Auburn, Maine School of Commerce instead, and got in, and I was the last student, the last room, the last, whatever. So I got in. So we lived in Rumford. Gary's from Corinna, and there's the connection there. He was going to school at Central Maine Technical College.
Okay.
And I was going to school with his sister, Karen.
You met her.
I met Karen.
A roommate?
No, she was, but She was just a couple of doors down
Okay.
and so forth.
What was that like for the first time in your life, being away from your beautiful home that you loved? Was it hard? Do you remember?
No.
Do you enjoy it?
I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Were you excited?
Yep.
Do you think you were more excited or nervous?
Excited. I definitely was, was breaking out from home. It was the norm, and
that was good.
Yeah, it was all good.
Yeah.
So it was a 2-year program that was for 1 year for kids that had excelled in coursework in high school, and so I did 2 years in 1 year.
Oh, you did? You completed it in 1 year?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
okay.
Then my first job was at the Oxford County Mental Health from June until November, and then Gary and I were married in November.
Oh my gosh. Wait, okay, so you were in college. Were you studying something specific?
Just advancement of those skills of shorthand and typing and filing and organizing and, that type of thing. It was just...
Would you consider those secretarial skills?
Yeah.
Is that an appropriate way to describe it? Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then you had your first job
at Oxford County Mental Health, and that was right in Rumford. And so I started in June, and it was my sister Jackie's job. And she was married in June, and I took over her job.
And it was like a secretary job?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Where did you live?
At home.
Back home. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So then take us back to when you and Gary met.
That was, we say we met in April, but he was kind of...
hanging around before then, right?
Yeah, he was. So he saw me early on in the year, and Karen said she's seeing somebody, and so then in April we went swimming. There was a group of kids that went swimming, and we were in Gary's car, and that was
it.
That was it.
And how old were you guys at that point?
I was 18.
Okay.
I was 19 when I got married.
So you met him at 18 and you got married a year later.
Mm-hmm.
In 4 months. It was
April
to November. They were married in November.
November.
Were you pregnant?
No.
Why did it move so fast, do you think? You just knew it was the right person?
There was a distance between us. It was like 2 hours, and he was intent, and I was too, on keeping the relationship going. And we just decided to marry.
Yeah.
He was 20, going on 21, I guess, and I was 19. And we decided to marry, and we did.
So you get married, and now you're living where?
In Corinna, which is stepping back of, like 10 years, 20 years of what I was used to in Rumford.
Really? Yeah, because Rumford was such a bigger city.
More advanced, more. There was more to it. And been away to school for a year in Auburn and so forth. And then we came back to Corinna.
Yeah.
And it was like stepping back 10 years. 10 years was probably a good,
Interesting.
So we were married in November 1970. And he got notice to go to boot camp. He went from January to May.
Was he drafted?
Boot camp for the Army?
Or did he sign up?
He signed up.
He signed up for the service.
He signed up. What was your question?
For the Army?
Yes, but he went into the reserves.
Okay.
Meaning he would be away 2 weeks in the summer and then go once a month up to the reserve unit.
And that was a choice that he was allowed to make of which... part of the services?
He made that choice, yes.
Okay.
And then he got a letter said, you've been chosen to go to Vietnam. And he took it to his commanding officer, and he said, you're already in, and they're not going to have you. Okay. So that's how, it was all legal and so forth.
But he literally was able to not called to Vietnam.
So in the 70, 71, that was a big deal.
Wow. Yes, it was.
Yeah. I don't remember when the war was over. It was 74, 73, something like that. Yeah. But still, He could have gone and he could have,
Life could have been changed.
yeah, could have been changed. So we were married in November.
Mm-hmm.
I moved from Rumford from Fry to Corinna, and January to May, I lived with his parents, and
How was that?
was
That was rough, huh?
Yeah, it was rough. It was because
Why?
it was different, and I was ready to be independent, and they were protective and so forth. So
Pretty conservative, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you get along with them?
no, not really, not well. I mean,
Later
it was,
in life, you did.
yes, I enjoyed them in later years. So I moved back to our apartment before he came home in May, and I was working for them too.
Wow.
They owned a restaurant. I was working for them.
So you worked at the restaurant for how long, Mom?
I was thinking from November to May, maybe about June, and then I got a job in Bangor for a lawyer.
So you had to drive to Bangor
Right,
from Korea,
right.
which is about back in those
35
days.
miles.
Yeah.
It was a lot of
Wow.
driving.
And you drive yourself.
Yeah, sure.
And what was it like being a young woman working during that time?
It was pretty liberating,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I'd worked there not very long, and then I got a job in Newport, Maine.
Mm-hmm.
I just happened to catch a job and I got it, and that
Okay.
was at American Autos,
Yeah.
and I was his bookkeeper for 3 or 4
Okay.
years,
Yeah.
and I got pregnant for Tim
Mhm.
then.
I was
Yeah.
going to ask. So you had a lot of jobs before you got pregnant. Did anyone make you feel like you shouldn't be working and you should be settling down and having kids?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so.
You didn't pay attention to it.
They
if
did.
were.
It didn't work.
Yeah, no, I really didn't. I didn't, and we had our mind set on jobs, and that jobs were important, and to get our home built, to buy land and so forth, we needed, money.
Right.
Mhm.
So we had jobs.
So you lived in apartments for a while, though, right?
One apartment,
Okay.
and then we went so I was pregnant for Tim in 1970, early 70s. We started building our house.
Mm-hmm.
72
Okay.
in 1972.
And how old were you when you got pregnant?
I was 21,
Wow.
and so it was in August. Tim was born in August of 72, and we moved into the house in August of, I think it was in August.
In Corinna?
In Corinna, yes.
On a piece of land.
Gary's grandmother lived here. His parents lived here, and we lived here.
Thank God. Very close quarters.
Yep. And then, so...
And that piece of land did Grammy Sprague give that to you guys? Or?
Nana Sprague said she
Nana
knew we
Sprague,
were out looking for land.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Plymouth to look at a piece of land, and she must have, I don't know how it was said, but anyway, how it was expressed to her that we were looking at land, and she came down to see Gary, and she said, "How much money do you have in your pocket?" She said, and he said, "I don't know. I don't know how much he had, a $20 bill, a $50 bill. I don't remember how much it was."
Yeah.
And she said, "You buy this land here, right here."
Wow.
And she
Or
sold.
whatever he had in his pocket.
Right. And it was a couple of acres.
Yeah. Right.
And it was a nice piece of land.
That's crazy.
It is crazy, but she wanted us close.
Yeah.
And I was close to Gary's grandparents.
Closer than you were to his parents.
His parents, yeah. And he worked with his dad and his mother. So, but anyway, so we started building our house.
Mm-hmm.
And
you were pregnant while you guys were building.
I
the house.
remember, yes, Dad was 7 months pregnant. I was not showing that much because I was young and, my body was whatever. And, but anyway, we were up shingling a roof. I was shingling the roof with Gary, 7 months pregnant. and Gary's grandmother was down in what is our kitchen, and I remembered her saying, "Oh my God, what if you?" And I said, "Nana, I'm fine." And but I think about it now, and I think, okay, I wouldn't want my
That was
granddaughter.
a little risky.
Yeah, it was
me
risky.
doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, but we did things. We did those things together.
Yeah.
So she and Grandpa always were down there every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day they were doing something down there to make the house, to get the house ready for us. And
Yeah.
finally we moved in and
And was Dad at this point? Was he doing construction for
Yeah.
his job?
Yep, he
Okay.
went 2 years to Central Maine Technical, and when he came home, he
Okay.
and Bappa started up their company. Bappa was working at the Corinna woolen mill,
Mm-hmm.
and they agreed that he'd get done, and he did, and they started their construction company. It must have been, he could tell you how many years they were in.
Okay.
They
yeah.
were, yeah, I
do
cannot
that with
remember,
Dad.
25 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
So you have Tim, and that experience has been one that we've talked a lot about. So do you want to share that?
Yeah. I was in labor. I worked the day I was in labor. I
Okay.
worked for Lawrence Amston
Yep.
at the auto dealership doing books. And I was in labor. I knew I was. I mean, everything just kind of was normal. I was full term.
Yep.
And so that night, we went into the hospital that night, and they kept me. And I wasn't advancing. The labor wasn't very, quick or anything. And Tim was only 5 pounds and 9 ounces. And I remembered laying there thinking, oh my goodness, he's a small baby. He's full term. He's a small
Yeah.
baby for me.
Yeah.
And, but he had they thought that he had a heart defect. So they shipped him to Portland. Gary drove Tim in an isolate to Portland.
What's an isolate?
It's an incubator.
Daisy,
Yeah.
come on.
Do you want to be part of this?
Yeah.
She's like, I do, but I'm so hot.
I know.
No, you.
So
Yeah.
did you find out anything before he was born?
No, we did not. No, that's a good question. We did not. There was nothing. There
That
was
just didn't exist.
Yeah.
no, it didn't. And I don't know. But there had to have been signs. That's funny. I hadn't thought about that. Anyway, he went to Portland, and we found that he had sepsis in his bloodstream, which is by that time was deadly.
Could be fatal.
Could be fatal.
And he's an infant at
He's
this point.
just born.
Yeah.
Just
In
born.
an incubator.
Yep. And that there's no heart problem.
Okay.
So
Didn't he have the umbilical cord? Didn't he have a
wrapped around his neck.
So when he
Mm-hmm.
and you did a natural birth.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
But he had a lack of oxygen to
He
his
was-
brain.
Yeah, he was a blue baby, but they don't know when he had that
Okay.
lack of oxygen, and he
And
had
for how long?
for
right.
how- yeah.
Right.
hence his cerebral palsy.
Mm-hmm.
He has a mild form of cerebral palsy.
But is that? I thought that was a malformed chromosome.
Yep,
thought,
right. There we
Okay,
go.
Yeah.
There we go.
And then the umbilical cord was a separate
Mm-hmm. Yep.
part of his
Yep.
birthing
Yep.
process. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you didn't know either of these things before you gave birth. So you give birth, his umbilical cord is wrapped around his neck.
Mm-hmm.
And did they know instantly that there was
Mhm.
some sort of...
Because he was a blue baby, and what they
Right.
called a blue baby.
Which was he literally blue?
A
Is that
parent,
what that means?
the with cords wrapped around the neck, the babies are blue. I was in a ward of 4 mothers, and they brought in within 2 to 3 hours. They brought in,
The other babies.
Mhm.
and I was waiting, and it was probably just minutes, and they came and got me in a wheelchair, and then they brought me out, and they took Timmy. I don't think they even let me hold him. They took him
Right away.
right away. But they didn't say anything to me.
Wow.
So then what is going through your head at that point? You think that you were going to have this healthy baby.
Yeah. And they came and got me and then wheeled me into another room. And then I don't remember who it was. It was a doctor and a nurse. A doctor and a nurse came in and said, your baby has problems. And so we called Gary, and Nana and Grandpa came with him.
Said, you got to get back here.
Yep. And he's got to go to Portland because we don't think he's going to live. And they baptized him.
In the hospital?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They baptized him without our knowing.
Who's that? The doctors?
The doctors, the nurses.
This was St. Joseph, so this would have been like a Catholic-run church,
Yeah.
right? I mean, excuse me, hospital.
Yeah, right.
But they did it because they thought that would
That he was going to die.
Wow.
Yeah. It's amazing that he didn't die. So he was in an isolate incubator, and Gary went home, undid his work van, undid it and cleaned it and so forth. They did not have 1972. They did not have Life Flight. They didn't have ambulances that would take babies or whatever. They said, can you? And Gary said, yes, I can. And Gary hired a nurse. We hired a nurse. We found, through the hospital, a nurse on their way from Bangor. By the time they got to Pittsfield, the nurse said there's something wrong with the incubator. They pulled into the Pittsfield hospital. They repaired the incubator. Gary rushed in the hospital and said, I've got a baby. I'm going to Portland. There's something wrong with my incubator.
You're still in the hospital in Bangor. Your baby and your husband are being transported, or Dad's driving. When did you join them in Portland?
We've got Nana and Grandpa are with me in Bangor at the hospital.
Okay.
And I said, I'm not staying here. 1972, that was quite a statement to make.
You're
said,
like, I'm out.
I'm out. And I went to Nana and Grandpa Sawtelle's.
Okay.
They were home. And I went there, stayed there until we got the call from Gary, and then he was on his way home. Timmy was there in Portland being cared for. And then we got the call from the doctors that said he has sepsis, and it's a hospital staph germ that's caused the sepsis. And that made his heart enlarged. That's what they were seeing in Bangor.
He's being cured for that. They're putting him on antibiotics to save his life.
Within a day or two, as soon as I felt I was able, we went to Portland. My mother and father met us there.
How long were you in the hospital with Tim, or how long was he in the hospital?
2 weeks.
Okay.
2 weeks.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
And you were able to bring him home.
Yeah. And I remember saying to the doctor when he was being discharged, will he have any issues? He said, we can't tell at this point.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And so from that...
He was a beautiful baby.
Yeah.
He was a beautiful baby boy.
From that point, did you know that you were going to have to be his advocate for the rest of his life, or you were still...
Not at that point.
Okay.
He was probably 4 months old when I was, something told me to research and read and read and read. And so when he was 3 or 4 months old, I said to the pediatrician, what is wrong with my baby? There's something wrong. And he said, well, he has cerebral palsy.
Really?
And that's what you found out.
Yeah, I suspected that he had, because he was just behind. He was always behind.
Yeah.
And there were 3 or 4 mothers that had children.
That had the same thing?
No.
Oh.
That in Corinna, who had babies that were advancing, and Tim wasn't keeping up with them.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, we could see that Tim wasn't keeping up, and yet he was this joyful baby. He was lovely, joyful baby. But he just physically, he wasn't keeping up. Wow. And so, none of that was a good time. That was difficult. It was 2 or 3 years there that before Paul LaMarche came to Bangor. He was a pediatric neurologist, and when we got connected with him, with Dr. LaMarche, then boom, things started.
Yeah.
I mean, we wouldn't have been more advanced,
Yeah.
let's say, but when he came, things started happening, and it was good. And then I got pregnant for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was a normal pregnancy.
Yeah.
Were you nervous to have another baby?
No, because I didn't make the connection. I mean, I did not make a connection. Nobody said to me, that there's the possibility that you, as the bearer of children, will have
this chromosome issue.
this chromosome issue.
Yeah.
And she was born with no issue. Baby girl.
What was motherhood like for you?
Motherhood
Being a mom.
was good. It was a good life.
Yeah.
And I choose to say that, to be there. It was a lot of medical issues with Tim,
Yeah.
a lot of medical, until he was probably about 12, and then they just kind of cut him off. It was like 10, 11, 12, we stopped seeing specialists, and he had up to that point an orthopedic doctor. Then they kind of cut him off because he was that age, and it's like they didn't have doctors.
Yeah.
But that.
Yeah. Did
So,
you feel like you had an extra burden compared to other moms?
Yep.
You did?
Yep, I
Yeah.
did.
Did you carry that alone, or did you feel
Yep.
like you had support?
Yep, I did.
You felt like you carried it alone.
Yep, I
Yeah.
thought it must be my job because your father was not.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
He was working.
He was working. Yep.
Yeah.
And what was it like to be the mother of a child with a disability?
I don't know. It was like with Tim, life from day one, Tim has never known a normal life.
Right.
Okay. And so that's the way it's been for me with
Right.
Tim. And I just was there in school when they'd call, and I'd go, and the people in school were amazing.
You
The-
had
like
you
the
did
staff.
have a lot of support there, right?
I had a lot of support in school. A lot of support. The principal, who was the principal in the junior high, also, he was there for Tim, and and so he made sure, that everything that was available to Tim was going to be there and be in place and so forth. And
What was the hardest part of being my mother?
Tell us about the clique that she ran.
oh my God, she'd tell you about that.
I know about the clique.
It's not a secret, Mom.
I know.
Really, honestly, it was so different than Tim. And I remember driving from, she was probably about 7, let's just say, and Timmy would have been about 9, and we're driving from Dexter to Coretta, and I had been buying them shoes. Okay. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I'll take 20 Tims to her one. It was really, but she was a lovely child.
Yeah.
She was just beautiful, lovely. But they fought a lot. Oh my goodness.
Her and Tim.
Yeah. I mean, they would bicker.
Yeah.
I don't know, you would mouth at him, and he would grab a hold of her arm, and he'd hurt her arm and stuff, and she'd cry, and I'd give them both heck. Both of them.
Yeah.
Equally.
Yeah. Always.
Equally. Always.
Yeah. There was
Equally.
no favoritism or anything like that.
None. And I'd say to Tim, you can't do that, because when you do, spasticity. He has spasticity, and when he would hold her arm, for example.
It was like a death grip. I was like, ah!
and it was kind of funny,
Yeah, we did bicker. Quickly.
Yeah.
What about the other kids in Tim's grade and the parents? Like, did you ever feel any judgment or anything from them?
I didn't. I really didn't. Tim came along, and he played baseball. Tim had surgeries on his legs,
Right.
And they were, one surgery in particular, his left leg, he had started out with a cast up to the hip, then in a few weeks a cast down to his, this was to strengthen his, or to lengthen his muscle in the left, his left side is affected more than his right side. And so it was springtime, it was summer and spring and summer, and there was baseball, and he played baseball.
Wow.
And he ran the bases with a cast, and he'd get up there and he'd hit the ball and so forth. So when we went to have the cast off, I said, I hate to tell you this, but I said, he's been playing baseball and there's a lot of dirt up in and the cast came off and there was this whole bunch of dirt up under Timmy's heel. He kind of laughed though.
Yeah.
It was Dr. Gauze.
He's just being a boy.
He's just being a boy. That's all. He was being a boy. So
he got to have a relatively normal childhood.
We did.
Mm-hmm.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
Absolutely.
And as he's gotten older and become an adult, you've continued to be his caregiver, I would say, right?
Yep.
How was that?
It's weird because I have no one to draw from.
Right.
And 3-4 years ago when we came home from Florida, and we noticed that Tim was like bent over to the left, and I watched him get in and out of the tractor, and I thought, oh, and he practically fell out of the tractor. And I said, my God, Tim. So this is normal for Tim. He has pain, and he's never known anything else but. And so he'd always get so frustrated with me because I'd say, Tim, what's up with whatever? And so I'd researched, and I found there was adult cerebral palsy people down in Scarborough, and I got him hooked up with them. And that was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So you kind of had a community.
Yes, it was a relief.
Yeah.
I mean, I went with him. I took him. I went with him. He just finished with them this past 6 months, 7 months. It's been, and they got him straightened out.
Let's connect to the horse farm and the what that was for you personally, but also what that became for Tim.
Between 94 and 95, I'd convinced Gary that I was going to do horses, and so that's one thing. But another thing was in 94, 95, we decided we were going to buy the house across the street, which sat idle for 3 years and was old. There was one old chicken barn that was there. We tore down, and but we bought this house, and Timmy and Gary worked on this house for Tim. All I knew was that this was the thing to do. Timmy had worked at Hannaford Brothers, and had worked at a produce place, and had worked at the woolen mill. So there's 3 jobs from the time he's 18. Now he's 19, maybe 20. And this third job, it was Bill Gallagher, who was Tina's ex-father-in-law. Came up to the house and looked at Gary and I, said, and Bill was up in the ranks at the woolen mill. And Bill said, listen to me, he's not working out there, and he's killing himself because he's working so hard. He worked so hard, and he produced maybe a third of what other people were producing. And we had no one else that had done this before. No one else
that had told you this.
That had told us this. And said his back, and it's true, his back was bad. And so Bill said, we're going to let him go, but you need to find something for him. Bill.
Yeah. That's a memory that just came from a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a nice gesture of him.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that speaks to the connection that our families had.
with Bill
Yeah, and the between the Sawtelles and the Gallaghers.
and the Gallaghers.
Yeah.
It's true. We did.
Yeah.
We had a close family.
So
bond.
had you already been thinking about the horses, Mom?
Yes. So we had bought the land beside us, the 13 acres that we planted the trees,
The Christmas trees.
Christmas
on.
trees.
Yep.
And then we bought a John Deere tractor, and I remembered, and by this time Timmy was 19 maybe. I don't remember at what point we did this, but it was around this point in time. And I remembered Gary and I standing in the driveway and Timmy driving the tractor and thinking, there we go. He's mobile. He's on a tractor. He's, he's doing something. And so that clicked in my mind. Then we bought the house next door. And Gary and Tim changed out windows and doors. Tim moved in to the house next door. And Tina and the kids, they'd all come home from college. Tina was in college. They'd come home, they'd go and they'd
hang out there.
Party there. And but I'd go over and I'd sit out on Tim's back deck and I'd think, boy, how nice this is. And Gary said to Tim, I think your mother's we're going to move in here. And I think it's going to happen. And so we stayed in the house across the street. Tim was there. We built the barn for the horses.
Yep.
My first 2 horses were Daisy and Deuce. And and then we built it up from there. But
and you did that with intention that this is not only going to give Tim a purpose, an identity, a job, but what was it for you?
Daisy and Deuce, they were like my first. They were my first love, my first.
And something that you could call
was your own.
Your own, right?
Yep.
And it was you said, Gary, I want to do this.
Yep. And I bought them with my money. I had money.
You'd been working.
I'd been working. So, right, I bought them.
You
and Daisy was bred back, so I bought 3-in-1. They call it 3-in-1. She was bred back and she had Deuce on her side. He was still, and so Deuce was just born that year and was still nursing on her.
Yeah.
And 3-in-1.
So now, I mean, I don't know that I've ever heard you say you wanted to be a veterinarian. I think that's the first time I've heard that. So now I'm seeing a new connection of this was something that also satisfied a desire.
It did. Bloodlines were important, and I knew enough to get into bloodlines. Bloodlines, not just any crappy horse, but bloodlines.
And you studied that. And
I studied.
But you taught yourself that, right?
Yep, I did. I'd go down there to Oakland where Daisy and Deuce were. I bought them by that. I bought them.
Yep.
And I'd go down there and I'd sit and I'd read. And Dot Brown, who's a dear friend to this day, she's older. She said, you'd sit in that arena, she said, and you'd read. And I would read about bloodlines and so forth. So anyway, they were it for me. They were the start of
this owning horses and caring for horses and being part of this community has been part of your life. And what are some of your proudest accomplishments in what you've been a part of there?
The kids, right at the top of the list are the kids that have come through us and come through. And, I think back to Taylor, and I think of Kirsten Ripley and Olivia. Olivia lived at our farm, and, those are just the three kids that were in the last, say, 10 years of the farm. and that we had an impact
That's wonderful.
on them.
Yeah.
Positive impact. And so, and Tyler and Keeper played important parts in their lives too.
You really appreciated the kids that came up
I
through
did.
your
I
farm.
did.
Do you think that's the part
Yep.
that has impacted you the most in
Yep.
owning
Yep.
a horse farm?
I do. Yep, I do. It was the influence we had on the kids and the parents that were there, and yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I want to kind of jump into just your general thoughts about what's going on in the world today. How do you feel about where we are at in kind of our position as a country? Is it different now today than it was decades ago for you, and how you think about being
Yeah.
an American citizen?
I think that Donald Trump is going to get voted out, or he's going to get killed, or something along that line, or he's going to get
Impeached?
impeached.
Yeah.
And he could be impeached now. I don't know what they're waiting for. I mean, I
You're
don't
telling
know.
me.
Okay. So he could be impeached today, tomorrow, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. And so we're going to have a lot to recover from his work, because I think, I don't read everything, but this Epstein business and his playing in Epstein, he was not more recent, but I think awful, horrible things. I've read one article that I just read it the night before, excerpts from Jeffrey, what's her name?
Frey.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
The book that she wrote.
Yes.
One of the victims.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Horrible. Do you think that he's done any damage that can't be undone?
Yeah, it'll take time. And it'll be interesting to see how the congressional people and the senators, how even if the Democrats take control, how they will pull things together and get the Republicans, back on track. I think there's going to be a long time, 20 years maybe.
What are you concerned about most for your grandchildren with regards to that then? What would be some of the things that are top of mind?
I think that it'll be harder for them economically, but they'll adjust. They've had to adjust throughout the years. We've watched these kids come up through, and they've adjusted. They've adjusted to this and that, and they'll adjust. They'll come in and out. They'll go in and out.
What advice do you want to leave for your grandkids and your grand stepkids and the younger generation?
Stay tight to that generation there.
Pointing to me, pointing to
Pointing to you,
Mike
to
and
you,
me,
and
yeah.
meaning you and Mike, and talk with them, be intimate with them, and yep.
Good advice,
Good
Mom.
advice.
Okay, you ready for some rapid
fire?
fire?
Morning or night?
Night.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Favorite meal to cook?
Spaghetti.
Favorite meal to eat?
Spaghetti.
A smell that brings you back to childhood?
Lavender.
Favorite season in Maine?
Spring.
Something you always kept stocked in the house?
Flour.
Flour.
Cook baking flour.
Baking flour.
Baking flour.
Yeah.
A song that takes you back?
Country roads.
John Denver.
One word that your friends would use to describe you?
Oh dear. I don't have a word. I don't know what it is. I honestly don't, but anyway.
None of your business. One thing that always makes you smile.
I don't know. When I just look at family and I talk with family, it's okay.
Something you miss from earlier years.
The smell of the trees, the smell of the pine trees.
From when you grew up.
Mm-hmm.
You did a good job.
Yeah.
You were quick.
Mm.
You did.
We can do part 2 at another time as you want to go deeper into those, Mom.
Okay. Yeah.
You did great.
Good job.
Thank you, Mom.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming to At Our Table.